All right, Wayne Allyn Root with you at 4 o'clock. Megan started the show off at 3 o'clock. She's with us, as always, for the first segment of the 4 o'clock show. Hi, Megan.
Hi.
I'm Wayne Allyn Root,
There we go.
otherwise known as W.A.R, your middle-class warrior, relentless freedom fighter, capitalist evangelist, conservative rock star, and all-around badass, warrior for God, guns, gold, tax cuts, term limits, and Trump, always Trump. And boy, has he fulfilled my greatest promises. My God, I told you all he'd be fantastic, and everyone thought I was insane. Everyone thought I was wrong. Everyone thought I was lying. Everyone thought I was naive. Everyone thought I was delusional. And Trump turns out to be better. I underpromised. Turns out to be, as I put in my commentary that came out today at Laura Ingram's website, Trump turns out to already be the greatest conservative president in American history.
Absolutely.
The greatest. No one's ever done the amount of things he's done in 6 days. It's impossible.
And Reagan was promised a wall, right? Reagan was promised a wall by the Rockefeller Republicans and by Tip O'Neill and the Democrats if he would have granted amnesty, and we never got one.
Right.
So here we go.
So my book, Angry White Male, and my other book, The Power of Relentless, both available at any fine bookstore or Amazon.com. My website, rootforamerica.com. The call-in phone number for the show, 702-546-4790. You can list us online at 790talknow.com. Or if you missed the show, you can listen to the shows you missed on my YouTube channel, War Now Radio. This show is sponsored by Swiss America, the gold standard, the #1 precious metals company in America. Contact Swiss America at 800-BUY-COIN, 800-BUY-BUY coin, or go to SwissAmerica.com. And now is where I usually do my world-famous Root rant, but when I have Megan here, I guess you'd call it the Root Barth rant. And so the rant is the fact that I just got back from the Spring Mountain Women's Republican GOP event, or I should say Women's GOP event. And it was at the JW Marriott, the Rampart Marriott in Summerlin, and packed house, overflow, sold-out crowd as of a week ago. And I want to thank all the women who were there, who are listening now, because so many of you told me you listen to the show every day. 2 of the women went out of their way to say, I love you, you're great, but make sure you thank Megan because she is fantastic and she really does you a great service.
Oh, that's awesome.
Make sure you knew that.
Thank you.
And a lot of them bought my book, Power of Relentless, endorsed by Donald Trump. So thank you for that. And I spoke for, I was laughing because I told them I'm the only guy in the world who pulls up at 2:59 every day to do a 3:05 show, having no idea what I'm going to talk about. And then I proceed to sit down and talk for 3 hours. And I did the same thing with them. I was in a rush. I had no time to prepare a speech, didn't know what I was going to say, and spoke extemporaneously for an hour and a half, 90 minutes in a row at the Spring Mountain Republican Club. But the main gist was that there's massive voter fraud in this country.
Not according to Barbara Zagazki.
And not according to Barbara Zagazki. Am I pronouncing that right? I can never pronounce that name.
I call her Babs.
I have the hardest time, but who cares if I'm insulting her because I don't like her now. Because she is just a horrible liar if she says there's no voter fraud in the state of Nevada.
Well, I have to tell you, okay, so you're at the Southern, wherever you were today.
I was at the
it
Spring Mountain GOP
Okay.
Women's Club.
I was at the Southern Hills
Yes.
Republican Women's Club.
And she was there.
Correct, and that's the reason I went.
Did you ask her the famous question, why is there no voter fraud? What are you talking about?
Well, we couldn't ask her questions. We had to write them down. But before we even started...
And then someone picked the ones that weren't too hard to ask her, I guess.
Right, and then, so I don't think the Southern Hills Republican women, or many of them, like me, and that's okay. I don't have to be liked by
Why?
everybody.
They're very nice. I like the Southern Hills women.
No,
I've
I think a
spoken
lot
to
of them are very nice.
What's not to like about Megan?
However, I know, right? But a lot of us in the audience were there, Stan Vaughn, myself, and Rob Lauer of Newsmax, and the whole entire audience was admonished by Barbara and others to be careful what you hear about voter fraud because you really have to check the sources. A lot of people that are talking about voter fraud really don't know what they're talking about. So Barbara, in her speech, says, voter fraud does not exist.
She says that.
Correct. However, she goes, but you need to make a distinction between voter fraud and voter registration fraud. And she admitted that voter registration...
What's the difference?
Exactly.
Isn't voter registration fraud voter fraud?
No, I guess not, and not according to Babs.
If you register illegally, isn't it voter fraud? And then you vote, that's voter fraud.
Well, what mechanism does Babs have in place to ensure that all of these fraudulent registered voters aren't voting?
First of all, what no one is talking about, the 10-ton gorilla in the room, is that when you go to DMV, you automatically register to vote. They hand it to you. They don't register to vote, but they hand you a voter registration form and ask you if you want it.
Right.
So if you are from Mexico, just as an example, not that Nevada isn't filled with people from Mexico, but if you happen to be from Austria or Australia or Canada or Mexico and you're here illegally, you get the form. You fill it out and you vote. How is that not voter fraud?
Just wait until Just wait until the 2018 ballot initiative, which is going to be an automatic register.
So why aren't we putting forth a ballot initiative backed by wealthy Republican donors, Megan and Wayne,
All right.
that stops motor voter automatic registration?
Well, we need to get 100,000 signatures.
Well, you need a rich guy to put up a lot of money, and we'll get 100,000 signatures. But I think all we really need is Donald Trump to pass national, federal voter ID law that overrides every state. Okay, liberals love to say there's no such thing as states' rights. So good. Let's stuff it down their throat in every state, including California.
I don't disagree.
Look, Hillary won the nation by 2.5 million votes. Donald Trump lost California alone by 4.5 million. Where did those 4.5 million votes in California come from? They were not actors in West Hollywood.
Do you know in the last week of the election, I don't know if it was primary or general in California, 800,000 people registered to vote?
That's a joke. That's
right?
nothing but fraud.
Exactly.
Fraud.
Exactly. And so what I want and what I'm calling for is that, Trump is talking about an investigation. The investigation should be right here.
Well, that's
Clark
what I wrote
County.
at Laura Ingram's website, LifeZet. They published my commentary this morning that Donald Trump's already the greatest president in American, greatest conservative president in American history. I understand, obviously, liberals wouldn't agree. Conservative president. And I got to all the things he's done right, and then I got to the very last point, which was he's starting an open criminal investigation into voter fraud. Well, I am asking Donald Trump to start it in my home state of Nevada. Yep. So great minds think alike. Yep. This is the epicenter of, California is the epicenter of voter fraud. But it migrated eastward to Nevada. Right. They know how to do it. They taught the Harry Reid machine how to do it. This is nothing but voter fraud. And I said in the article, it's illegal. The key is illegal aliens voting. That's exactly what this is all about, is illegal aliens voting,
and you have
when it's illegal for them to vote.
Up people to vote, which Barbara admitted is illegal. But then, because my question got asked, because we had to write it down.
So what was your question?
Can an illegal immigrant register people to vote?
So what was the answer?
No, it's illegal.
But it's going on.
Correct.
She said it was going on.
Well, it's all over. Look,
she said it was going on.
She said that.
Then isn't that voter fraud? How is that not voter fraud?
According to Barbara, no.
Barbara Zagaski, however you pronounce her name,
Babs,
is just clueless. I don't know what else to say. Clueless, or
I think she's a Democrat.
Or has a Swiss bank account.
I think she's a Democrat.
Has a Swiss bank account.
I don't care what she calls herself, but she's certainly not aligning herself with the
Somebody is bribing Rhino Republicans to sell us out. Brian Sandoval, Barbara Zagajewski, Hutchinson, all of them are Rhino Republicans who are traitors to our side. They get in office by claiming they're conservatives, then they get in office and they sell us out. That is a crime.
I want an investigation of Plan Nevada, which is the George Soros operation, which hires illegals to get out the vote. I want an investigation of the Clark County Registrar's Office, Joe Gloria. I want an investigation of the Clark County Postal Service.
Because Joe Gloria seemed to think nothing was wrong at that market. What's that market called?
Cardenas.
Cardenas Market, where all the buses pulled up at the last second with California
He's a BS
plates.
artist. He's a BS artist. And he's also the most opaque, least transparent registrar that I've come across. The third place I want investigated is the Clark County Postal Service, or Post Office, to ensure that they're following federal procedure on how to handle election mail. And if they aren't following federal procedure, why not?
Why not? Because they're government employees. And government employees understand that first thing good Republicans do, like Donald Trump, is to freeze hiring of government employees. So they get very angry at that. They don't like us. They only vote Democrat. Look at the suburbs, the northern suburbs of Virginia and Maryland. They vote 100% Democrat. Government employees are all Democrats. So, Donald, start cutting them. Cut them all. We don't need 22 million government employees in this country.
Before he was elected, there was an article, I think it was in the Post, that said 25% of them would quit if Donald Trump was elected.
I haven't noticed that.
I haven't either.
No, there's been no large...
GTFO.
But you know who has quit? The entire senior management team at the State Department resigned today.
Yes!
And I say glory hallelujah.
He needs to clear out every single appointee
Yes.
from the Clintons
to
administration
Obama. Yeah. Let me tell you something about the State Department. The State Department is America's State Department, and they hate America. They hate Israel. I mean, it's just a nest of anti-Semites who hate Israel. Although anti-Semite's an interesting word because it generally means people who hate Jews, and I've met so many Jews who are self-hating anti-Semites.
Yeah, I never got that.
Dennis Prager always talks about that, self-hating. You find me a
It must be
Jew.
something with guilt.
Find me a Jew who voted for Obama. I'll find you a hateful, anti-Jewish, anti-Semite. And let me give you the greatest.
Like Soros.
Well, no, I'll give you a better name. Well, Soros is right up there with anyone in the history of the world. But how about Ben Rhodes? You know Ben Rhodes? Yeah, Ben Rhodes. Ben Rhodes was appointed to the Holocaust Commission by Barack Obama. You know that in his third to last day in office. Ben Rhodes was the architect of the Iran Treaty. The Iran Treaty. And Ben Rhodes was the point man who sold the UN censure of Israel. And he's on the Holocaust Commission. Now, if that isn't offensive to every Jew in Las Vegas who's listening right now, or every Jew in Palm Springs who's listening, and by the way, in case you're tuning in for the first time and you're saying, wow, that Wayne Root's throwing the word Jew around, Wayne Root is a Jew, okay? And I'm the most pro-Israel loving Jew you'll ever find. I would fight and die for the IDF, Israel Defense Forces. I would go and fight if Israel was in big trouble. So I love Israel, and I'm a Jew who loves the Jews in every way except for politics. Their politics are just crazy. Crazy. So the question is, how do you put up with the fact, if you're Jewish, that a Ben Rhodes, who created the Iran Treaty and the UN censure, and by the way, also the Cuba Treaty, it has nothing to do with Jews, but the Cuba Treaty says we cannot extradite from Cuba criminals. And it was all about one person. I can't remember her name. I had it before, now I can't remember it. The Black Panther in Cuba.
Oh.
I mentioned it at the Spring Mountain Republic Club. I knew the name there. Whatever her name is, she's a cop killer.
Right.
She's a cop killer. And now we can't extradite her. So Ben Rhodes is always in the middle of everything bad in the entire Obama administration. And he is on the Holocaust Commission. I don't know how that is not an offense to every Jew in America, because the Iran Treaty could lead to the destruction of Israel. Anyway, that's the story. The entire senior management team at State Department just resigned. They cannot work with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump and Megyn are dancing. Dane Sensor is dancing. Dane's waiting to be a guest at the 5 o'clock hour. He's here to watch the show. And he's dancing. He's going to tell us what it was like on the streets of Washington, because he was assaulted multiple times by crazy, wacko, unhinged liberal women. He actually gets more in their face than you do, Megan.
Really?
It's amazing. Wow. No, well, here's the difference. You're a woman. Nobody ever wants to hit a woman. Women don't hit women. Men don't hit women. But everybody wants to hit a white guy. So there's Dane, with a Trump shirt and a Marine hat, calling himself a general. Awesome. Every woman wants to hit him. Every Democrat wants to hit him. White guys
They're
just
such violent.
White guys can't
people.
catch a break.
Violent and vile. I still can't get over how many women took their young daughters there. I just
with signs that said "F you."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then to go watch a communist.
And I thought, the P word that Donald mentioned was the worst word in the world, except all those women were holding signs.
Right.
Little girls were holding signs saying the P word.
Yeah, like 3, 5, 13-year-old girls. What are they raising? Communist revolutionaries? Like oversexed communist revolutionaries?
By the way,
I don't know. Liberal women must be so proud.
All right, so last two things, Megan. The president of Mexico cancels his U.S. visit after the Trump wall comments. He's an idiot because Enrique Peña Nieto doesn't understand that the way to deal with Donald, notice in the Hillary debates, Donald is always vicious in a rally, say, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're face-to-face with him, he actually becomes kind of nice. He's not vicious to your face. If you sit down and you meet with him, you actually can get some common ground and some compromise, and he's nice to you. So to cancel the meeting was the dumbest thing
he's a coward.
Nieto ever did. No, but he's not just a coward. He's stupid. He doesn't understand common sense. Sit with Donald and negotiate the deal, and it probably wouldn't have turned out that bad for Mexico. Now, I'd say the wall just got 5 feet higher and $5 billion more expensive. Don't ever show up Donald Trump.
I hope he puts a big Trump on the top of it. Just huge.
Don't ever show up Donald Trump.
Light it up at night.
Don't ever show him
neon.
up. Don't ever show up Donald Trump. And then the second thing I wanted to mention to you was the daily presidential tracking poll, Rasmussen. The latest figures show that Donald Trump has a 59% of likely U.S. voters approve of President Trump's job performance. Mm-hmm. So all I hear in the media is that he's the most unpopular president ever. How does that jive with 59% approval? I must be missing something.
They don't like numbers.
Yeah, well, they don't understand math if it's not on their side.
Right.
59% approval rating. And you could say, oh, Wayne, well, you don't understand math when it's not on your side. Really? I seem to remember it for the last 6 months, every poll showed Trump was going to lose, except for two. the LA Times, and Rasmussen. And I quoted them every day and said they're the only two that are right. My math turned out to be pretty good. The math of all the people who disagree with me, including establishment Republicans on Fox News, turned out to be very bad. So my math is pretty damn good.
I can't wait to go back to CPAC this year, which is that annual conference in February, because we were like the pariahs, the Trump supporters last year. We were like the pariahs. We basically were nearly spit on by other Republicans.
That sums it up right there. The Republicans didn't even like us.
So now this year,
you're the stars.
Own the place.
All right, cool. You'll be in CPAC and I will be in Asia.
I know.
Raising money for the new Wayne Root website that will compete with Drudge Report. 6-country tour of Asia. And one of those countries is a predominantly Muslim country. And the president of that country has asked for a meeting with me to ask me to put him together with Donald Trump. So that will be a great honor, and I will be glad to do that. And it'll be some exciting stuff to report when I get back. I don't want to talk about too much of it in advance of the trip, but when I get back, I will share it with all of you, what happened and how it worked out. And if you go to my Facebook and my Twitter, I'm sure there'll be many pictures during the entire trip that I will share with everyone at Facebook and Twitter, Wayne Root or Wayne Allyn Root. I don't even know what I am at Facebook and Twitter. It shows you how out of it I am. I have a big following, but I don't have any idea. Is it Wayne Root? Is it Wayne Allyn Root? Is it out Wayne Root? I don't know. Whatever it
Allyn
is.
is with a Y. It's like Megyn Kelly. You're like Allyn is with a Y. It throws me off.
Mine, Allyn.
Right.
Allyn, Allyn.
Like
Anyway, that is the story. And Megan Barth, great first hour. Thank you for being here for me.
You're welcome.
And what is today? Today's Thursday.
Thursday.
Today's Thursday. Okay, that's why you're here. You're on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Got it.
Right.
I lose track of time. Every day just blends together. We will have a great guest when we come back. His name is Dan Perkins.
Contributor to ReaganBaby.com.
Contributor to Reagan Baby. And he will be talking about Donald Trump's first few days in office. And all I could say, as I said to the Spring Mountain Women's Republican Club, is this is Christmas for conservatives in January. Every day is a better day than the day before.
That's right.
Obama used to make my head spin. He passed so many bad bills and so many executive orders, my head would spin. And I'd say, how could you do this many? Well, this is the exact opposite now. Donald Trump is doing that many good ones on a daily basis. Just great. I've been busy all day. I haven't even looked. I'll bet there's 3 new ones today I don't even know about because it's just amazing what he's done. But the best one of all is coming, according to the New York Times. Donald Trump is preparing executive orders that greatly, this is according to the New York Times, greatly diminish both our funding and America's involvement in the United Nations.
Yeah, I heard
if
about
that is true, it is Christmas
Hallelujah.
every day under Donald Trump.
And I can't wait until he rips those money out of sanctuary cities. I cannot wait for
Liberals' heads have got to be exploding.
Oh, they are.
And by the way, one of my
fantastic.
great buddies, my mentor of 30 years, Doug Miller, just sent me a text and he said, I have an easy answer for funding the wall. Just take the money from sanctuary cities. All their funding goes to the wall. That's not a bad idea, except it'll never happen because I believe every liberal mayor of every sanctuary city will give in and fold to their knees within 5 minutes of being told the money's not on the way and their city can't function. They'll all give in immediately. So you'll never get to use that money because they'll give in and they'll give up the sanctuary and they'll do whatever needs to be done to get their money back. So it's not like we're actually going to pull that money from them. It's not going to happen. We're going to threaten to pull the money, and we'll withhold it for a month, and then they're all going to come to their knees, and then they get all their money. That's what's going to happen, in my opinion. So we'll see. We'll see. Megan Barth, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank
Always.
you. Wonderful, as always. Wayne Allyn Root, WAR Now. We get back. We'll have Dan Perkins here, and we'll have a great conversation. So we'll see you in 1 sec. Phone number 702-546-4790. If you want to call in, 702-546-4790. Or in California, 844-263-8232. All right, Wayne Allyn Root. Welcome back to War Now at 790 Talk Now. That's 790 AM in Las Vegas. That's 98.1 FM in Palm Springs. And I wanted to mention Frank Barker, Captain Frank Barker, 36 years, Captain, Deputy Chief of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We had Hollis Barnhart, his brother-in-law, in, what was yesterday? Wednesday? So 2 days ago, Tuesday, Hollis Barnhart came in to reminisce. Great memories about Frank Barker. And Hollis just sent me the following text. Services will be Monday, January 30th. So this Monday at the Church of Christ on 4000 West Oakley. There'll be a viewing from 1 to 3 o'clock, followed by funeral services from 3 to 5. There'll be a Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department honor guard there. And Palm Mortuary is handling the arrangements. In lieu of flowers, they want you to donate to the Injured Police Officers Fund, submitted by the Barker family. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of retired Captain and Deputy Chief Frank Barker. Great guy. If you were here for the interview, you know what a fantastic guy he was. I hope you will attend his services or make a contribution in his name to the Injured Officers Fund. All right. Do we have our guest on the line? We got him. Okay. We don't have him. Oh, he dropped off. All right. No problem. I'll talk about the daily presidential tracking poll. Rasmussen reports the daily presidential tracking poll for Thursday shows 59% of likely U.S. voters approve of President Donald Trump's performance. 41% disapprove. I'd love to meet the people who disapprove. I mean, talk about morons. I mean, what could make a person disapprove of, disengaging with the United Nations that hates us, hates Israel, good-for-nothing United Nations, building a wall, adding 10,000 border guards. The list goes on and on. I mean, it's just fantastic news. Hiring freeze on federal government non-essential employees. In other words, it doesn't affect law enforcement. It doesn't affect military. Just all wonderful stuff. How about keeping out of the country people from Muslim countries who do not have a good process for checking to see if you're a terrorist or not? I would think that might be a pretty good idea. Got our guess now? That might be a pretty good idea. I don't know who would be angry at that idea. What kind of a weirdo would not like that idea? Just crazy. Crazy. As it says here in the latest of this week's executive orders, Trump has begun a crackdown on illegal immigration. He added thousands of Border Patrol agents, starting the wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, cutting federal funds to sanctuary cities that refuse to enforce immigration law. By the way, you could get rid of the word immigration. We're cutting funding to cities that refuse to enforce the law. Why worry about whether it's immigration? If you're a liberal, don't even make believe the word immigration isn't even there. It's a city refusing to enforce the law of the United States, and it's a city in the United States. You mean they shouldn't be punished because you feel bad? You feel bad for illegals? So that means that they shouldn't be punished? Really? Really? I don't even know what to say anymore. Temporary ban on refugees from and visas for citizens of terrible Middle East countries, Iran, Middle East and Northern African countries, Iran, Iraq, Sudan, Somalia. You really want them in the United States going to school with your children? No, see, that's the thing about liberals. Your children take limos or the Mercedes to the private school where there are no Somalian children. There are no refugees. By the way, there are no black people. You live in a perfect white world if you're liberal and you're listening right now. Okay, because I've met you my whole life. I met you in Beverly Hills. I met you on the Upper East and West Side of Manhattan. I met you in Scarsdale. I met you in Bronxville. I met you in Great Neck. I've met you my entire life. I met you in South Beach. You're liberal. You hate Donald Trump. You love black people. You love minorities. You love Muslims. It just so happens you live in neighborhoods where there are none. It just so happens you go to school where your kids are in school where there are none. You're the biggest liars and hypocrites and frauds in the world. That's what you are. And I love Trump's plan for temporarily restricting immigration from countries with a history of terrorism. All right, our guest's on the line, Dan Perkins, and he wants to talk today about, I believe, the Keystone and Dakota Access Pipelines, right? Oil? We're talking about oil today.
Yes.
Yes, but yes. I want to start, though, with the Mexico border wall, because that's a topic you're familiar with as well, right, Dan?
Yes, sir.
Dan's background, by the way, registered investment advisor, over 40 years experience investing in all asset classes, particularly energy, and he's the author of The Brotherhood of the Red Nile, America Rebuilds, the second in a trilogy. The first of this series was The Brotherhood of the Red Nile, A Terrorist Perspective. So these are fictional books that appeal basically to conservatives and patriots and Tea Partiers and Trump fans, right? Am I right about that?
Yep. Yes, and people who want to understand why these people hate us so much that they call us infidels and they want us to die.
All right, so the website is danperkins.guru, danperkins.guru, yes. And the Twitter site is at Dan's Beak. What does that mean, yes. Dan's Beak? Why is it Dan's Beak?
Because it's Twitter. It's a bird. Beak.
Ah, got it. Twitter's a bird, so it's your beak. Dan's Beak, at Dan's Beak, website danperkins.guru, the book, The Brotherhood of the Red Nile trilogy. There's 3 of them. Is the 3rd one out yet?
Yes.
Oh,
and
it
they're
is?
all available at Amazon, both in paperback, hard copy, and ebook, and now in audiobook, all 3. They're really spectacular.
All right, we'll start real quick with the wall. And what drives me crazy that any liberal would have a problem with the wall when there's a wall in Israel and terrorist attacks went from 10,000 a year to less than 100. It's single digits in some of the years once the wall was built. Walls work. And yet I hear people saying how silly a wall is, including the Republican governor of Nevada, Brian Sandoval. Oh, we don't need a wall. We don't need a wall. Really?
Right.
Thousands and thousands every day flood over the border, but we don't need a wall. But the wall works perfectly wherever it's built. Come on.
Right.
What a joke.
And when you had the migration into Europe, after we saw the first million come through, what did most of the European, Central and Western European nations do? Start to build walls.
Right.
To control the flow.
Well, walls make good neighbors. Listen, liberals all have walls around their estates. Barack Obama's building a wall around his new rental mansion in Washington, D.C. The Pope, who was such a big critic of President Trump, has a wall around the Vatican. Walls work. That's why liberals have them.
That's true.
And most of the men I know in Hollywood build walls to keep ugly women out because they only have sex with beautiful models and actresses. Last I checked, Leonardo DiCaprio has never in his life had sex with a woman that isn't a 10. That's the mindset of a liberal. You know, they're all full of crap. They love women's rights, but they only love women who are a 10, 5'9" or taller, and a model. That's the only woman allowed in Leo DiCaprio's bed. If you're not a world-class model with the Wilhelmina or the Ford Agency, don't apply. The women at the march, which are some of the most hideous women I've ever seen in my life, they never get in bed with Leonardo DiCaprio. They'll never be in bed with him. They don't get that. They think he's on their side. But see, he's only on your side if you're liberal and you're a 5'9" model. He's not on your side if you're an average-looking woman or an unattractive woman. You know, then he's not on your side. They don't understand that, do they, Dan?
No.
No. So walls work, and I don't understand why they have such a problem with it. It doesn't make sense to me. Liberals claim there is no problem on the border. Well, we know there's a giant problem because the border agents say there's a giant problem. We know people are flooding in. But if there's no problem, then why do you have a problem with building the wall? Oh, we lost him. I don't know how that happened. We lost Dan. Get him back on again. Who knows where he disappeared to. But what's that? Oh, he's disconnecting. I don't know why he's disconnecting. But, you know, I guess he was not happy with the topic. We'll get back to oil. Dan, if you want it to be about oil, we'll just get back to oil. But it's kind of interesting that liberals say there's no problem on the border, but then they don't want a wall. Well, if there's no problem on the border, what's the big deal? Let's build a wall. Let's see if you're right. Same thing with voter fraud. They claim there's no problem. If there's no problem, let's pass voter ID and let's see if you're right. It shouldn't bother you if there's no problem. Let's take a break. We come back. We'll get Dan back on the line, Dan Perkins, and we'll talk about oil, and we'll talk about the Dakota Pipeline. We'll talk about the Keystone Pipeline, and what a wonderful, refreshing president we've got named Donald John Trump. I'm Wayne Allyn, WAR Now. All right, Wayne Allyn talking with the ultimate Trump fan and protester, Dane Sensor, who we were talking about. There's no freedom of speech for conservatives, only for liberals, certainly in Washington, D.C. But guess what? There's freedom of speech here on this channel, 790 Talk Now, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs. We give you freedom of speech at WAR Now. You can speak freely if you're a conservative here at WAR Now. Let's get back with my guest. We got him on the line again. He switched phones. It's a better phone.
Yes.
Dan Perkins. Hey, Dan, how are you?
I'm fine.
All right,
we were talking about the wall. And,
we were.
And
but
I have an illustration for your audience.
Go for it.
3 people in the room: President from Mexico, Prime Minister from Canada, and Donald Trump. Who is the 900-pound gorilla?
Go ahead.
Mexico has a surplus with the United States, or we have a deficit of $60 billion. Since NAFTA, both Canada and Mexico have taken jobs, more so Mexico than Canada, but they've taken them too. Taken jobs, taken companies, taken money. And I think what's going to happen here is that we're going to build the wall, but we're also going to change the way we do trade. Most people don't know this, but Wayne, the last year, this country had a surplus on the balance of payments, 1975. 40 years. And last year it was $41 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's taking jobs away, that's taking businesses away, and it's depleting, for 40 years, have been depleting the middle class in this country.
Well, Donald Trump's going to put that all on its head. Donald Trump's going to change everything because he's a smart businessman. He's already proven in his first 6 days that he's a brilliant businessman, and he does things with common sense that no other politician, including my old hero, Ronald Reagan, understood how to do. Trump has done more in 6 days than Reagan did in his first 4 years. I'm telling you, it's amazing what I'm seeing in front of me every day. What Trump is doing is exhilarating and amazing and breathtaking, and it's fun to get up. It's fun to be an American again. It's fun to wake up and read the news for the first time in 8 years. Amazing.
And so I look at it from the standpoint. I'm almost 72. My first presidential election that I recall was Eisenhower. And I have to tell you, I watched Eisenhower and Kennedy and Johnson and Nixon and Carter and Ford and everybody. I have never seen in all the presidential campaigns that I've been involved with where there was a change in the government. I have never seen more activity from November the 8th to January 20th than I have seen in the Trump administration.
Oh, yeah.
He got more accomplished before he was actually president than, as you said, some presidents do in their entire career.
Yeah, before he was president.
Amazing.
I know.
And he's not stopping. And the problem is he's not stopping, and so the Democrats don't know where to grab hold because it's constantly moving. But the oil is an important issue. The Keystone Pipeline and the Dakota Pipeline are important. The Keystone Pipeline will hire 28,000 Americans to build the pipeline in very good paying jobs. But what's important is there's nobody's talked about this yet, so you may be up front on this one. We had a situation not too long ago where OPEC decided that they were going to cut 1.8 million barrels of oil a day out of their wells. Not going to pump it. They did it because they needed for the price of crude oil to rise in order for them to get out from under, because many of the OPEC nations are on the verge of bankruptcy, because even at $53, $54 a barrel, they can't make any money. Mm-hmm. They needed to go higher. So they cut production. So when they cut production, the price of crude oil moved from the mid-40s down to the mid-50s. American oil interests, more specifically the frackers in the Dakotas and West Texas, are back drilling. We have more rigs drilling in the United States now than we had 4 years ago. And we import 4 million barrels a day. I believe by the end of this year, we're going to be totally energy independent because we've got thousands and thousands of wells that have brought in but are capped when oil prices drop to $26 a barrel.
Right.
Now what's going to happen is OPEC is going to have to continue to cut its production in order to make up the difference of how the American energy is growing, which means they're going to have less and less revenue and less influence on the world economies. And
less influence hanging over our head. That's the important part. Is we're not going to be hostage anymore to the Middle East. It could never be what happened in the 1970s where they had us by the by the short hairs. And
I did a presentation last weekend, Wayne, when I talked. I asked the people in the room, how many of you remember the last 2 years of Jimmy Carter's presidency? And a lot of people raised their hands. And I said, let me ask you, do you remember that inflation was 21%, that interest rates were 22%? Did you remember that American hostages in Tehran, we tried to do a rescue mission and it failed and more people got captured or killed? Do you remember when the president said America's best years were behind us? Do you remember when the president said we're not going to light the national Christmas tree and you shouldn't light yours and you need to turn your thermostats down and put on sweaters? Do you remember all those discussions from Jimmy Carter?
And Dan Perkins, do you remember the gas lines? That's what I remember, the gas lines.
Well, there was there were two embargoes. And so what happened was, in one day, literally, Wayne, in one day, I was in Germany at the time, the day that Ronald Reagan won the presidency. In one day, the whole psychology of this country turned on a dime. And hope was growing eternal in the United States. When George Bush the Younger, was in his last year of his presidency, the country was in terrible disrepair and very depressed, thought the world was going to come to an end. And what happened was Barack Obama came in, and what was his message? Hope and change. America wanted that. They desperately wanted somebody who could turn this thing around. He didn't, and now Ronald Reagan came back in the disguise of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is saying, America, I can make America great again. America needs to be number one. And when he was elected, the electricity in this country of people who saw there was going to be opportunity and there was going to be an opportunity to do things, and then the speed at which when he took over that he's changing things dramatically, he's changed the whole psychological profile. And a lot of people around the world don't know how to deal with a non-politician like Trump. He's a businessman who makes decisions. He fired the 4 senior guys at the State Department today because I'm sure he believed that they were not really working in the best interest of the United States.
Well, actually, the headline I saw, which is you're probably the one who's right, was the entire senior management team at the State Department resigned, saying they could not work with Donald Trump. So whether they were resigned or pushed off the plank or fired, I don't know what the right word is, but I'm very glad they're gone because I don't want the guys from the Obama administration in there to be poison and poison the Trump administration.
That's the thing that he's going to have to do. I mean, when he put the gag order on the Environmental Protection Agency people, you can't say anything, period, nothing. I think that the next phase, and I think it's going to start happening soon, probably won't get the fanfare of the 4 senior guys from the State Department, but you're going to see a lot of bureaucrats who are holdovers from Obama and Clinton who are going to be shown the door. And he's not going to have these people sabotage what he's trying to do for the country.
All right, Dan Perkins, great to have you with us. Registered investment advisor, 40 years experience in energy, all asset classes, but particularly energy. He's the author of The Brotherhood of the Red Nile, America Rebuilds, the second in a trilogy. His website is danperkins.guru. And Dan, we love having you on. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
All right, Wayne Allyn, when we get back, we'll take your call, 702-546-4790, from now through about 5:20. Then at 5:20, we'll have Dane Sensor on, one of the great Donald Trump super fans, to let you know about his experiences in Washington, D.C. during the inauguration. And we'll do lots more of the Root Rant because there's so much going on I want to talk to you about. Just as an example, just as a great example, Madeleine Albright says, the former Secretary of State under Clinton, says, I am ready to register as a Muslim. Just to show how much she loves the Muslims, she wants to join the list. She thinks Trump's going to have lists of Muslims. She wants to register as a Muslim. This is how mentally ill liberals are, mentally ill. On the good side, you have Rand Paul announcing the Obamacare replacement plan, and I love it. You know, I'm not always with Rand Paul, sometimes a little too libertarian for me, and he's pretty nasty to Donald Trump, but he's a doctor, an eye doctor, an optometrist, and he actually has a fantastic plan to replace Obamacare, which I love. A fitness nut like me loves it. He's giving you deductions for vitamins, fitness equipment, and gym memberships. Exactly what I've proposed for the last 20 years should be deductions in our health care and tax deductibility in this country. Thank you, Rand Paul. Great stuff. We'll talk about it when we get back. War Now. All right, Wayne Allyn, I love it when Jameson has a Trump shirt on. And my guest Dane has a Trump shirt on. Trump's everywhere. Trump is everywhere. He's alive in the studio today. We've got Deplorable Gary on line 1, DG, what's going on? You're on with WAR.
All right, but I need to stay on because I've been hanging on for 2 hours to talk to you. I have 100 things to tell you, and you always do this to me.
Keep it short. Put it in order. Organize. We've got a gal. What's her name? Jareen? I don't know. There's a gal who calls in all the time who's fantastic. And she just, when she calls, she has it in a list. Here's the 4 things. She's tight. She's quick. She's on the money. She's out. That's the way to do it.
I like her, too. Yes, I do. I'll concede to her first, and I'll hang on. Because you're the best, and I have so many good things to tell you.
No, just tell me. Go ahead. Shoot.
Oh, gosh. Where do I start? Thank God we don't have we've moved on from Pee Wee Herman and Barney Fife politicians. Let's keep moving on. And I want to say, what do you call it? I wish Donald Trump would tweet to this Politico of Mexico. We'll offer him sanctuary and his family in one of our sanctuary cities because he's shaking in his boots because he's scared of the drug cartel and his people and his all this corruption is ridiculous, and it overlaps into our countries. Bankers, everybody's making money off these drugs, but it's decimating our country.
We agree. That's why you got to build a wall. The wall isn't just to keep people out; it's to keep drugs out and keep drug dealers out. You know,
I have an alternative to building the wall. I'm a closet socialist. I say let us go in there and wipe out all those compounds that are growing marijuana and cocaine and everything all over there.
All right, he's got. We had to get rid of you, DG, because you're not quick, and we got a news break. It's news time. DG, come on, man. Wayne Allyn, WAR Now. When we get back for the news, we'll take your calls. 702-546-4790. 4790. 4. All right, Wayne Allyn, WAR Now. Lots of things going on. I want to show you the mental illness of liberals before we get to the calls. Lots of callers on the line. Madeleine Albright, I'm ready to register as a Muslim. Having told Americans there's a special place in hell for women who don't vote for Hillary during the presidential campaign, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright attempted to show solidarity with American Muslims as fears rise over President Trump's executive actions on immigration by tweeting this drivel. I was raised Catholic, became Episcopalian, and found out later my family was Jewish. I stand ready to register as a Muslim in solidarity. We are sure American Muslims appreciate our support. Albright joins ADL Director Jonathan Greenblatt, who said in November he would register as a Muslim if a registry was created. The day they create a registry for Muslims is the day that I register as a Muslim because of my Jewish faith, because of my commitment to our core American values, because I want this country to be as great as it always has been, Greenblatt told the media. Crazy people. Absolutely crazy. I'm ready to register as a Muslim. Okay. On the other side of the ticket is Rand Paul. Went from the bad to the good. Rand Paul's revealed a replacement for Obamacare that would have a bigger impact on employer-sponsored plans and other Republican alternatives. His plan carries several details shared with other GOP plans. However, Paul's plan would affect the employer market by allowing people on the individual market to deduct the cost of insurance from their income or payroll taxes. Paul's plan would also spill into the employer-based market by taking aim at the tax exclusion for health care. Currently, employer-paid premiums are exempt from federal and payroll taxes. However, the exclusion would cost the federal government an estimated $260 billion. Paul said the plan does not interfere with employer-provided coverage for Americans who prefer their own plans. However, it extends the exclusion to individuals who don't get insurance through their job and shop for insurance on the individual market, like, say, radio talk shows, like me. It's an expansion, not an attraction. The plan includes other elements. Those include expanding the use of health savings accounts. Great. Love it. Letting insurers offer plans across state lines. Great. Love it. Eliminating the individual mandate. Love it. Paul would provide a tax credit for up to $5,000 per taxpayer for individuals and families to use in their health savings account, and it would remove the annual cap on the amount that could be put into the accounts and let people use funding from their health savings account to buy dietary supplements, vitamins. You know, I take 100 vitamin pills a day. My vitamin bill is bigger than most people's prescription drug bill. but it would allow you to use it for vitamins, over-the-counter drugs, nutrition, and physical exercise expenses. Exactly what I've been saying for years, and it takes a brilliant free market Republican doctor named Rand Paul, Ron's son, to come up with this. Great stuff. Great stuff. I mean, that's the way. When people say repeal and replace, but you don't have, or liberals say you don't have a replacement, well, we do. We do. Health savings account, buy across state lines, make it 100% tax deductible, and allow you to use the health savings account to buy vitamins and other preventive products that prevent you from getting ill in the first place. That's the whole point. If you wait till someone has cancer or heart disease or diabetes, the bills are monstrous. But if you spend the money that I do on exercise, the money and the time on exercise, physical activity, and vitamins and organic healthy food, it sounds expensive in the short run. In the long run, it's cheap. In the long run, it is cheap. All right, we got lots of calls on the line. Let's start with DB on line 1. DB, you're on with W.A.R. How are you?
Hi. Hey, listen, I like your articles you write for the paper. Very good.
Thank you.
Very nice. The reason I called is because I'm concerned about how people that are voting for Trump, are being harassed by this other group. And like El Sombrero Cafe down there on Main Street, they were having all kinds of problems and harassment and threats. And I want to know what's going to be done about these people.
Well, I don't have an answer for you. I don't know what's going to be done. I mean, obviously, if you get caught, a lot of the harassment is anonymous. But if you get caught, you should get arrested. You should go to prison. You're not allowed to hurt people. You're not allowed to physically assault people. You're not allowed to harass people. You're not allowed to intimidate people. So if you get caught, you should get punished. But
These are not well-meaning Democratic people. Okay?
No, they're not.
Doing it. These people are off the track. Okay.
Yeah, well, you're going to hear an interview coming up in about 10 minutes with Dane Sensor, who is the ultimate Trump superfan, who was at the inauguration and was assaulted multiple times by these crazy, unhinged liberal women. And so, yeah, you're right. They're not nice people. DB,
who in the hell needs a woman that's like Hillary, that has so many charges against her and everything else? There's many women that would be much better than that, okay? If you're talking about a president.
No, but so you have to realize, DB, let's live in the real world. In the real world, you don't get elected president because you're a genius, because you're wonderful, because you're fantastic, because you're Superwoman. You get elected president because you're rich, you're powerful, and you have a brand. Hillary Clinton has a brand. She's famous. Donald Trump has a brand. He's famous. Barack Obama has a brand. He's famous. Mitt Romney has a brand. He's famous. All of them are rich. The Clintons are worth over $100 million. Donald Trump is worth several billion. Barack Obama is now worth $100 million plus, and soon will be worth, I've seen estimates of $300 million or more within a couple of years of getting out of the White House. Mitt Romney's worth about $400 million. You know, these are all brands, and they're wealthy people, and everybody votes for the person whose name they know. They don't know a thing about the person. They vote for a brand name. Clinton, Obama, Trump, Romney, brand names. So, you know, it's just a big advantage to be a brand name. So you say there are other women more qualified than Hillary. Of course they were. Every woman in America is more qualified than Hillary. You know, the entire womanhood of America is better than Hillary Clinton. She's a crook. But Hillary Clinton has a name that cost billions of dollars to brand, or I should say is worth billions of dollars in branding dollars. And you just can't replicate that. None of the other women could replicate that. It's worth its weight in gold. You know the Clinton name, even if you hate it, you know it. That's something people strive their whole life for. Let's take David on line 2. David, you're on with W.A.R.
Yes, I called in regard to the earlier today on Kevin Wall, as you were before you came on.
Yep.
They brought out a concept from one of the other callers, charging people that are illegal immigrants some sort of tax or tariff regarding their exporting money to their families in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard something about it would be illegal. There'd be illegalities involved and maybe court problems. if they implemented that program. I just wanted to know your take on that.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know the legalities. I know that a Trump spokesman says a 20% tax on Mexican goods could fund the wall. So in other words, he could make Mexico pay in a roundabout way. He's not billing Mexico. It's just that every time...
Well, I know that, but I thought because of money being shipped from family illegals over across the border, could he not do something about that and say, all right, you send money home, we want to charge you maybe 1%, 5%, as that caller said earlier.
It's possible. I would say again, David, I don't know the legalities. Taxing goods from a country is one thing. Taxing individuals sending their own money of their own free will, I just don't know. I guess you could do it. It's a tax. I guess you could.
I was blown away when I heard that because I didn't know one way or the other, and I thought, wow, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
If it was able to be enforced.
I've seen liberals say that there should be, I think Bernie Sanders had a plan where there was going to be like a 1/2 or 1% or a 1% tax on every stock trade in the United States of America. So if you could impose that, then you could say, I want 1% of every dollar remitted from the United States to Mexico, which is 1% or 1/2 of 1%. I suppose it's legal. It's a tax. Government's allowed to tax whatever they want.
I believe we can hurt them in so many ways because there has to be creative ways to implement this, this or something like it, down the road, whatever their plans are. But I think there's more than one way to, as they say, to skin a cat,
All right, I'm with you. I'm with you, David. Thank you for the call. We've got Joel on line 3. Joel, you're on with WAR.
Hey, live from Thousand Palms, California, right here in Tim's gun shop. How you doing, Mr. Root?
Hey, Joel, you're right in the gun shop now, huh?
We're right here right now. Say what's up, Tim. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great. What's on your mind, Joel? My new La Quinta caller.
Yes, guns. Guns are on my mind. I was at the post office today. And I read the sign that says, no firearms here. And I'm like, okay. So all these places that are gun-free zones, why not arm the employees there? Why not make sure the employees are able to protect themselves if you're not going to let the community protect themselves when they're entering those establishments?
Well, Joel, I don't want you to forget that they've disarmed the soldiers on military bases all across the United States. Now, I expect that to change under President Trump, by the way, but that's a fact that on military bases, the soldiers are completely helpless and disarmed if someone starts shooting. How about that one? Not forget about post offices, military bases.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm sure Hillary Clinton thinks that's perfectly logical.
Well, they think taking guns away in any position is perfectly logical. Taking guns away from people, taking guns away from shopping centers, taking guns away from churches, taking guns away from gun stores. They don't want guns anywhere, even in a gun store. But it's not logical because the reality is it's like a screaming neon sign from Las Vegas that says, come on in, we're completely disarmed, we're completely helpless, come kill us all. That's what it is.
Exactly. And I don't want to take my family to places like that because they're targets. And it's unfortunate. Yeah,
well, you're in California. You might have to think about moving, my friend, because Las Vegas and Nevada itself have much better gun laws than California will ever have. And it ain't getting better in California. I could promise you that. It's not getting any better. They want us to see.
Yeah, but I just got a job working the valet. I can't move to Nevada now.
Where are you working the valet? One of the Indian casinos?
Ooh, we got the Jackalope Ranch, and we got the Kaiser Grill right now, where I'm going to be stationed. So head on out over there after you head on to Tim's gun shop. Buy your ammo before you have to register. Steer clear of Second Amendment, just because. And go America.
All right, Joel. Thank you for the call. Appreciate the call. Wayne Allyn. War Now. We get back. We'll have Dane Sensor, the ultimate Trump superfan, back with stories from the inauguration in Washington, D.C. See you in a sec. All right, Wayne Allyn, War Now. Here it's 790 Talk Now in Vegas, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs. It's soon to be nationally syndicated all over the United States starting in the spring. We'll have that announcement soon. I've got a guest right now in studio with me, the one and only Dane Sensor, President Trump's 5-star general of street marine campaigning. That's the brand that Dane wants. 5-star general of street marine campaigning. What does that mean, Dane Sensor? Tell everyone what it means.
Well, you have 5-star generals in the, in the Marines, Army. I was a 5-star general on the streets campaigning.
Are you an ex-vet yourself, by the way?
No, I'm not. But however, my father was a World War II vet, saw action, saw his buddies die next to him in the Navy Pacific, heading for Japan. And I do a lot of vets fundraising, and I'm very dedicated to helping veterans of this country who've given everything for us to have our freedom. So I'm very pro-military, and I just wanted to capture something because they go in the front lines when you have to go in. They go in the shores, and I wanted to do the same thing when it came to campaigning for Mr. Trump. Be in the front lines where you see the action, and you got to face some tough situations, and I definitely faced them.
Well, you were on the front lines in Washington, D.C. at the inauguration this past weekend, and you faced some action as well. Tell everyone what happened.
I'll tell you something. I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly of Washington, D.C. First of all, when I first got there, I saw this protest going on. It was a Thursday night protest, and I went down there and to see what was going on during the inaugural, see events happening. And a 600 group of protesters were coming down from Chinatown down Pennsylvania Avenue towards the Capitol. They had bullhorns yelling, "F you, Trump." And I looked at the Capitol Police and I said, "Have those guys got a permit for that?" And he looked at me and said, "No, it's freedom of speech." And I found that ironic because the very next day I had a sign, 4x8 sign to the Capitol where I was making a statement about being called a deplorable and Michael Moore calling us Joe Blow people. That kind of thing. And he kicked me off the Capitol steps for having my sign, said I was a protester by myself, but yet they let 600 protesters have rampant on the streets in Washington.
And scream profanity.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. No permit.
All right, but the big action came, I guess, with the women's protesters. Some of the women's protesters attacked you, literally, right?
You've never seen a more vicious, nasty, mean people in your life. I had a protester woman, older woman too. I mean, this woman had to be in her, I would say 60s. She's like that one that got kicked off the airlines for abusing that guy. She came up to me, read my sign, and started saying "F you," and she actually head-butted me. Thank God I had my cap on. My cap flew off, and she went over to her husband, told me that I was assaulting her when I didn't touch her, because I know you can't touch anybody. If you touch them, you'll be in cuffs. If they do it to you, it's fine. It's okay. They're expressing their freedom of speech. But it was unbelievable what they would do and get away with. And here comes her husband coming after me, attack me. I'm calling the Capitol Police office, and they're sitting in their car looking at me as this guy comes running over. I was waiting for him to hit me. Finally, the guy gets out of the car and holds the guy off. It was just unbelievable what was happening. Spitting on you. There was many situations where, I tell you, you feared your life. You had to really go back, sit back, and not say a word because we saw what happened in San Jose.
Were you in the middle of any of the rioting? Because I know Megan and I took a walk from the inauguration right into the war zone. Just all of a sudden we turned a corner and there were cops everywhere and there were rioters everywhere and they were throwing stones and throwing bricks. They were banging baseball bats into windows, breaking windows, and they were setting fires, and they were marching with upside down American flags. I'd never been that close in my life to a riot, and I was literally right up in the middle of it.
I stood by a couple of police to be safe. I saw them. They were breaking windows. They were just out of control. And you really have to watch out for yourself because you will get hurt, and they don't care. When they're on a rampage, they don't care who's in their way, who you are. You could be one of their supporters. They would still throw stuff at you. One of the limousines today, I was reading in the paper, was a Muslim limousine, and they destroyed it.
Well, and there was a SUV, I believe a Cadillac Escalade burned. It was Larry King's.
Yeah.
Larry King's crew was there.
They don't care.
No.
They're just, it's really not about protesting. It's just about anarchy. It's about destroying. They're just not happy people, and they just want to take it all down. And that's how it is. And you have to really watch yourself. The women, I was absolutely, I'm not really shocked, but They are some of the meanest, nastiest people you've ever seen in your life.
Remember, they were bragging about being nasty. That's their theme now. They want to be nasty. Let me ask you, were there people that came up to you to tell you, I'm on Trump's side, go get him, man?
Oh, yeah. There were some good people. They said, God bless you. They shook my hands, said, thank you for being out in the front line. I mean, they really were thankful. I mean, a lot of people don't want to say anything, and I don't blame them. But, I am a street Marine campaigner, and that's what I do, and I take no gruff. I will never hit a woman. However, I will defend myself from them not hitting me, but they will get a verbal abuse from me like they've never heard before, and they don't like it, but I unleash on them.
All right, so your fondest memories of the inauguration weekend, because you must have seen and heard and felt some great things, too.
Well, the greatest thing was watching the concert. I sat probably about 30 feet from Mr. Trump when he sat up there and his family on the stage. There was some incredible performances. You turned around and you looked at the crowd from the concert. There was a reflection in the pond of the people. It was dusk. It was absolutely an incredible moment. The music was phenomenal. The people, the fireworks at the end it was just something you'll never get out of your mind.
And you attended the military, the Armed Services inaugural ball, correct?
Yes, that was one of the three that President Trump attended. He came there. The vets were so proud, so glad that Mr. Trump was the president. I talked to a Marine. I talked to a Navy SEAL. A lot of the big top brass, they were just all excited. They were having a great time. They were enjoying. They were with girlfriends. I saw one guy propose to his girlfriend. And actually, they had that later on Fox News, and it was a great event. The room was with such energy. It was a beautiful room. Absolutely did a beautiful job of the decorations, the entertainment. There was a performer there. I got to mention his name because he was such an incredible singer and band. Josh Weathers. He was phenomenal. The band, he sang and performed as Mr. Trump did the first dance with his.
Melania,
Melania. Wonderful. It was.
How many people were at the Armed Services Ball?
Oh, there had to be at least 3,000. Yeah, I'm guessing at least.
And were they in military uniform?
All military uniform. All the soldiers were. Marines were in their full military uniform. It was beautiful. They were with dates, and it was great. They were just so excited about being there, and they were having a great time. They were enjoying. You could see it. The crowd and energy in that room was just. Something like you've never felt before. It was just inspiring, inspirational. And that's what President Trump is doing. He's inspiring people. He's getting them excited. And look at what he's doing.
All right, listen.
Everything's done.
Last question before we go to break. We've enjoyed having you on. I want to ask you one last question, which is, look, you fought long and hard for Donald Trump. You were at every event. I saw you all the time. And I know you're one of the biggest Trump super fans. Now that he's been in office for about a week, what are your thoughts on Donald Trump as President of the United States?
Phenomenal, absolutely extraordinary. There will be no president like him before or after because he's doing things now that the country has never seen before, and he'll do some things that will astonish people. The leftists are in shock. They're still in shock, but what he's going to do for this country, even they'll come around.
All right, Dane Setzer, Trump super fan. Where could people find you, by the way, Dane?
Well, probably on the street somewhere with a sign. What I'm doing right now, I'm trying to get out there, and I'm hoping to get maybe a position with the Trump organization through the veterans. I want to do a big event.
Not the Trump organization, the Trump administration now.
Trump administration, I'm still pinching myself. But I'd like to do something there to help the military raise some funds for these soldiers that are committing suicide. It's an extraordinary sadness.
National epidemic, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to get involved with the administration somehow, whatever way I can help to do something there, because that's where I really have my passion. And, I'm a 5-star general, street Marine campaigner, and I want to turn that into jobs for the veterans, raise money for the veterans, help those veterans who are suffering from a lot of things that they've...
PTSD,
Yeah. So there's a lot to do. And we can provide jobs and do a lot of things to help. So I want to do that. I'm very passionate about it.
All right, Dane Sensor, ultimate Trump superfan, 5-star General of Street Marine campaigning, just back for the inauguration where he had a grand time at the Armed Services Ball and got to watch Donald Trump swearing in. Great moments, but also accosted by several of the liberal loony nutcases and unhinged whack jobs.
I tagged them as pink heads.
Pink heads, we used to call them pinkos in my dad's day. A bunch of commie radical pinkos. But, Dane, we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, War Now. When we return, your call, 702-546-4790. The rest of the show, you are on the stage. You are on the clock. 702-546-4790 in California, 844-263-8232. 844-263-8232. Make it rain for Wayne. Looking for your calls. I was really heartbroken earlier today. I mean, it's very rare that I cry. It's very rare I'm heartbroken. But when I heard the president of Mexico canceled his U.S. visit with Donald Trump, it was just heartbreaking. The tears were flowing. I just couldn't hold it back. My God, the good people of Mexico, so decimated by Donald Trump. The whole thing is a joke, I swear. You know, when you talk about influencing elections, the liberals think that Russian hacking influenced elections. No, I would say influencing elections when you send about 12 million of your people from your country to our country. All of them are voting illegally. Many of them are on welfare. Many of them are getting earned income tax credits. Many of them are on food stamps, free education, Medicaid, Obamacare. They want Social Security. Their kids get English as a second language at school, which costs a fortune. Their kids get free meals at school, and they have a great influence on the election. Ask the state of California about that. That's influencing an election. So I don't really care very much if the Mexican president's upset with Donald Trump. I don't care if his little feelings got hurt. I don't really care if he ran home in a huff and he doesn't want to meet with Donald Trump. That's a big mistake on his part. If he had met with Donald Trump, I believe that a deal would have been hashed out. That would have been a reasonable deal for the people of Mexico. As I said earlier in the show, my guess is the wall just got 5 feet higher and about $5 billion more expensive. And the 20% surcharge on Mexican goods is probably going to be a reality now. So, you know, all I could say is Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto, big mistake, my friend. You let your ego get in the way of common sense. We've got lots of callers. We got Jaren, who's become a regular with us. She's always sharp and to the point. Jaren, you're on with War. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks so much for the kind words. I have so much, so I'm probably going to have to call back tomorrow.
Keep it tight now, Jaren. Yes, call back again tomorrow. Keep it tight. Don't go too long on me now.
You know, there was a horoscope this week that said Aries were going to need to speak their mind, and I'm not too much into that stuff, but boy, have I wanted to speak my mind this week. There's so much happening, and it's so exciting. And so, anyway, first things first, I just want to say one of the reasons I was with Trump from the start is I had no other candidate that I liked. I knew he was the one, and he was the only one that had a chance against Clinton. I knew he was a smart businessman. He was an outsider. He wasn't one of the Washington cronies. So he could clean up our economy and the mess that Obama made, spending more money than, you know, what is it, all of the past presidents combined in history, I believe. Is that correct?
He has spent more money and he's put out, created more debt or put us into more debt than all the presidents in the history of the United States of America combined.
Thank you. That's exactly what I thought. Just wanted to make sure that fact was correct. And so not only are we going to need to redirect spending, but we're going to have to stop a lot of spending. But I am relieved that Trump's in office and he's the man to appoint people to help with this disaster because he is a brilliant businessman. And boy, do we need a brilliant businessman as president of the United States right now. So my point on the wall, I wanted to just say that Obama gave an additional $500 million to the UN's Green Climate Fund 3 days before Trump was inaugurated. So I don't know if that's in payments or it was a lump sum or what, but if it's payments need to be stopped. That money should be part of funding the wall. And the other money, apparently he pledged $3 billion, to climate change, is just ridiculous because we all know, anyone with a brain that's done their research anyway, that climate change is complete just nonsense, okay?
And
they
Sharon?
had to change it. They had to change it, by the way, from global warming to climate change because they're like global warming and it'd be snowing in Iraq or Vegas, and then they had to say climate change to get you freaked out whether it was hot or cold.
Correct.
Anyway.
And by the way, Sharon, are you aware that Barack Obama in his last hour in office tried to steal taxpayer money and give $221 million to the Palestinian Authority?
To the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. And I am extremely upset about that because I've mentioned Israel on previous calls, and another day can go into that. But anyway, any money that has been, put aside for climate change purposes, that all needs to go towards the wall, okay? Because let me tell people something. All non-essential programs, there's so many pork barrel programs. People go on about corruption at the highest levels of office, but they rarely talk about the corruption at the congressional level and also the senators and the amount of money that those representatives make and the corruption there, because there's so many pork barrel projects in Washington that go to the representatives' districts that are so ridiculous and wasteful. So all non-essential programs in the U.S. need to stop. I mean, I think Trump will do that, and it needs to be just health, safety, and national security first, okay? We can't have education. We can't have jobs, any of that. We're dead, okay? So that needs to be prioritized immediately. And it needs to be wise spending in the areas of education, because I was listening to a show earlier about local issues in Nevada and how much Sandoval and others have given to, ESL programs that have been proven, by the way, to be ineffective, okay,
right,
for people to learn English. And so, we're talking millions of dollars. So any projects like that, at the state level or federal level, those need to be slashed immediately, and funds need to be redirected towards funding the wall. He'll find a way to do it. I have no doubt that Trump will find a way to, slash stuff, redirect funds, but climate change funds go towards building the wall. The other thing I wanted to say, you made a really awesome point earlier in the show about rhinos being bought out and bribed, and God bless you for being bold enough to say that, because I think people on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, shy away from the glaring elephant in the room that so much money is involved in politics and bribery and underhanded things. And no one wants to point that out. They just say, oh, the person's stupid or they're not educated. No, a lot of times it's exactly what you said. They're being bought out, and it's for a bigger agenda.
Or Jared, they're being blackmailed.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. And that's exactly, they think that the Hollywood movies are just, a great plot, like the Pelican Brief, where they kill off a Supreme Court justice of Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington. No, actually, I believe Justice Scalia was killed. Okay, there are things that go on in the highest levels of politics that would just scare people to the core. And I'm telling you right now, people are naive and they need to wake up a little bit, because the globalist New World Order agenda that Madeleine Albright and Soros and Obama and a lot of these on the left are a part of, where they're just out to destroy, okay, because they want money, power, and control, and they don't care what they have to do. They don't care what they have to do to get it, okay? It's about controlling the masses and benefiting from it.
Madeleine Albright, the Muslim. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes. Yes. And by the way, about Madeleine Albright, I wanted to say she was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, okay, in 1993 she was appointed. She looked the other way with Rwanda, okay, where 1 million people were killed in the period of 3 to 4 months. They went on for months, the killing. The Tutsis were hiding, okay, in churches, and they were being slaughtered with machetes, okay, and went on for months. And she was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations at the time, and people on the ground in Rwanda, okay, firsthand accounts that they were crying out to the UN and asking for help, and she was telling them to stand down and do nothing, and she's got blood all over her hands, and so does Bill Clinton. And he claims to be the black president. Oh, I'm going to bring that up as long as I'm alive, because it is such a lie that he made everybody believe he's so pro-black and all of this stuff. So I just want to say, Madeleine Albright is so corrupt, and she's part of that New World Order and Globus, and Soros and all of them. So whatever they can do, okay, to cause division in our country, to take away our rights, okay, to take away our property rights, our health, mess up our finances, affect our jobs. I mean, it's about control. They want to control us, and if they divide and conquer, they can control us and profit. And so I just want to wake people up to that fact, because very few people understand what that globalist, New World Order agenda is about.
All right, Jared.
Passing laws. But anyway,
we're headed to a break.
Thanks so much for taking my call. Okay.
Love it. You're always on point. You're always good. And I want to make sure the public knows When we get back, I'll be talking about the poll results, not just 59% approval rating for Donald Trump, which you won't hear anywhere else, but Barack Obama's approval ratings, the third lowest in the history of the presidency. Now, you don't hear that on the evening news. You don't hear that at Huffington Post. You don't hear that at the New York Times. You don't hear it at the Wall Street Journal, by the way. I've never seen it in any mainstream media. One of the most unpopular presidents in history, and all I've ever heard is how popular he is. Funny, but polls don't lie. He's unpopular, and I'll fill you in a sec. All right, Wayne Allen Root, here's the one poll the press doesn't want you to see. The Gallup poll found President Obama's average approval rating was among the worst of modern history as Obama left the White House, the mainstream media falling all over themselves, proclaiming how popular Obama was. A typical headline, Obama leaving office on a very high note. Yet despite the media's fixation with polls, the press completely buried one of the most newsworthy poll findings, a Gallup report that came out last Friday, which took a final look at President Obama's popularity over his 8 years in office. And so his average popularity over 8 years was a dismal 47.9%. Only 3 presidents scored worse than Obama since Gallup started doing these surveys in 1945. Never elected Gerald Ford. Of course, he was literally appointed by Richard Nixon, who then Ford pardoned Nixon. So he was never elected president of the United States and defeated when he actually ran. One-termer Jimmy Carter, probably one of the 1 or 2 or 3 worst presidents in the history of America, and Harry Truman. That's it. Those are the only 3 that ever had worse average poll ratings than Barack Obama. Obama did worse than Richard Nixon, whose overall approval was 49%. Remember, Obama's was 47.9%, and was less popular than George W. Bush, who got an average of 49.4%. That sounds newsworthy, doesn't it? But you'd never know this if you relied on the mainstream media for information. That's because not one of them reported on Gallup's finding. It took the conservative site CSN News to break the media embargo. It reported on Gallup's findings on Monday, and its story got picked up by the Drudge Report, and after that, a few other conservative news and blog sites reported the findings. But beyond that, total media blackout. Now, it's true that Obama's rating started to climb as the end of his term neared. Obama's approval rating 57% in his last month in office, and that uptick got widespread coverage with lots of comparisons about how he stacked up against other presidents as they left office. But Obama also had a high approval rating when he came into office, which got huge approval. His initial approval rating in Investors Business Daily TIPP poll, 75.3%. But what about in between? Do you know how low it had to be to get down to the 47s? After his first year, he received sustained majority approval only once more during his first term in office. In other words, the public had high hopes for Obama when he came into office, liked him when he was largely irrelevant in his final months, but in between, when he was governing, the public consistently disapproved of the job he was doing. That story never got told because for 8 long years, a smitten press desperately tried to avoid covering anything that made Obama look bad. So biased. So biased. Before I get to calls, former Mexican president Vicente Fox, once again dropping the F-bomb. Vicente Fox, and he's done this consistently for a year now. He just hates Trump. He once again used a 4-letter expletive twice to tell the world how he felt about Trump's claims that Mexico would pay for a border wall. Sean Spicer, I've said this to Donald Trump, and now I tell you, Mexico is not going to pay for that effing wall. And then he added the hashtag effing wall to enunciate the point. Vicente Fox is a badass, man. He really is. He's a badass, but he's on the losing team. Because Donald Trump in the United States is the A-team, baby. We've got Frank on line 3. Frank, you're on with W.A.R. How are you?
I'm ecstatic. I'm going to be one of the quickest. Make sure you DVR tape whatever Waters World on Saturday. He's going to Brown University, where masculinity is now viewed as toxic. That's all I got for you.
That's all you need to give me. It's typical. It's typical. I went to Columbia University, by the way, and masculinity was pretty rare on display at Columbia University as well. It was Wayne Root. In those days, I had just come from my, very, very, very macho Italian community. I was the only Jew in an all-Italian neighborhood, and I was driving a Trans Am and had 4 gold chains around my neck. There was a lot of masculinity around Wayne Root at Columbia University. But that was a long time ago, another life. Let's take Moishe on line 2. Moishe, you're on with Wayne Root. How are you?
Yeah, Jimmy McMillan of the Lakers, because Jeff Sessions, there was masculinity at Columbia. Jeff Sessions is a dead. I thought I was listening to Zeke from Cabin Creek. Jerry West is a dead ringer for Jeff Sessions. Wayne, I'm 5'4", 125. I can play ball. They called me Earl in the early 70s at Ohio State. And basically, the inauguration. Donald Trump, you said it, the first Jewish president. He quoted, Hine Matovu Manayim, here we are, all brothers sitting together. He said, whether you're from Chicago, Detroit, or the Plains of Nebraska, we draw our life from the same creator. But the real star of the inauguration was absolutely his glorious wife. Can I cut in on a dance? Unbelievable. And, I'm going to just say that I want to work on her staff. Hitler didn't just kill 6 million Jews. For all you morons out there were hundreds killed during his election. Where are the brown shirts? He killed them all. 6 million Jews. I'm going to punch anybody in the face that gives me that. Let's get some issues. Donald is willing to take questions. Donald, do you know what will happen if this happens to NAFTA? Donald, do you know what might happen if you go to Jerusalem? Give him some issues. I'm telling you, America, let's have some issues. And they came up with this America First, I guess, as I was listening. I knew that back way at the beginning that was what they called in 1940. They called to say if you thought that Hitler was not so bad to push America into war. I knew that. Listen, you people, he backed Netanyahu. Do you know what Obama did? Over and out, Wayne. Thanks.
All right, Moishe. Moishe got the message. You heard the music. It's time to go. We've come to the end of our show today, Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow, the last day of the week. Friday's always a glorious day, and what a great week it's been with Donald Trump as president of the United States. For all patriots, for all Tea Partiers, for all conservatives, I think for all libertarians, but I've seen quite a few libertarians like Drew Carey in the news who hate Donald Trump, and that's the reason I left the Libertarian Party. They just don't get it. There's a disconnect there. But if you don't like government, and if you love America, and if you like lower taxes and smaller government, limited government, less spending, we got the man. Wayne Allyn Root, over and out.